Y'all know what time of the year it is. We've been releasing our mock drafts, and it's my day to get into my mock draft. And I'm going to present to you what I think is one of the best case scenarios for the Bears to tackle every single need that they could possibly have while also acquiring some more draft capital. We're going to get into all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And so we got to start off with the first round pick, where the Chicago Bears have the number 10th pick. And while I know there's been a lot of talk about possibly drafting Genty here, I look at it and I see this. For my mock draft, if Will Campbell is not there available for the Chicago Bears, I trade back. That's just where I sit right now. I think that you can still get a quality starting offensive lineman here while trading back. Now, I want to be clear here. If Will Campbell somehow does fall here, I think you go ahead and take him. But for my money, I'm going to trade back, and the team that I have targeted to trade back with is actually the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 19. And in that, we'll pick up their 19th pick and a second pick in 2025, which I think this is a deal that Ryan Poles has done stuff similarly to before. And at number 19, I have two targets on my board, right? I have, of course, think that there's a chance that Kelvin Banks may be here, right? But I'm going to look at it and say, let's draft Armand Membou, the offensive lineman out of Missouri. I look at this guy and I say he upgrades the trenches. Yeah, he doesn't have the cachet of like a Will Campbell. I think even when you look at Simmons, of course, like Josh Simmons is somebody that the Bears could look to take at number 10. I want to be clear here. His injury history has garnered some concern. So here's what I'll say. If Josh Simmons is there at number 10, I do think there's a chance that the Bears take him. If they're iffy on the medicals, which we'll know in the draft combine, I do say that they trade back here. I think that they can go out and get Armand Membou, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He has the length, he has the power, he has the athleticism. He's not the tallest tackle in the world, and that may go against some of what Ben Johnson likes to draft, but I think picking up an additional second-round pick next year could be huge there for the Chicago Bears. So I think that that is the pick that I would like to see the Bears take. Next up, and I should have said this, I do think the Bears are going to get two starting caliber offensive linemen in free agency. So with the second-round pick, where the Chicago Bears are drafting, I actually have them taking Princely Umanmielen. Listen, I know I murdered his last name. This is the edge out of Ole Miss. This guy, you talk about a long-term pairing with Montez Sweat. I love this guy. Princely is just 10.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble last year. When you look at the totality of his collegiate career, even his freshman year, where he only played 3 games, he had 2 sacks. 1.5 sacks his sophomore year, 4.5 sacks his junior year, 7 sacks the year after that. Then his fifth year senior eligibility, 10.5 sacks. This guy is a monster, 6'4", 255 pounds. I know people are going to say, but Haize, what about the future of Austin Booker? Isn't he the future at edge for us? Listen, I think that you take talent right now, and Austin Booker could still very well develop. Use that to have a depth there at your defensive end. Rotate that defensive end out a lot. And I do think Dennis Allen does like drafting pass rushers when you look at it. While everybody's talking about what pass rushers we can sign and things like that, he has one of the best track records out of college you can possibly have when it comes down to it. Size, length, the explosiveness, everything that Dennis Allen likes at the defensive end position, he brings that. 25.5 sacks in college, all in the SEC. I tell you what, I'll take that guy absolutely on my team. Now with the Bears' second round pick, I have them drafting Tyler Booker, the offensive guard out of Alabama. I think this guy, he has, they've said that there's not that much separation between first round offensive line and second round. If this guy was a slightly better athlete, he'd probably go in the first round, right? I think when you come down to it, he lacks some mobility when it comes down to it, but he has power, size, the technique as well. And when you look at somebody who's just a monster on that offensive line, Tyler Booker has the chance to be that as well. He generates really good movement in the ground game as well. He will not fall for the bull rush. You cannot bull rush this guy also. I think he can come in at either guard spot. I like Tyler Booker here for the Chicago Bears. Now, with that said, I also, with the third round pick in this draft, I have the Chicago Bears taking Quinshon Judkins. Y'all already know I was going to work in an Ohio State guy here in some shape, form, or fashion. And this is the guy that I think the Bears can go out there and get, man. And I think in this one as well, the Bears have a chance of trading down in this one. They could trade the 51st pick to the Giants, for example, for the 3rd in 2025, another 4th in 2025 as well. I think you can get out of this. That's what I have in my mock. Quinshon Judkins here. Listen, what can I say that isn't already understood? 6 foot, 219 pounds, 194 carries last year for 1,060 yards, 14 touchdowns as well. You look at it, he hasn't had a single year of under 1,000 yards in college. Even when he was at Ole Miss, 16 touchdowns, 15 touchdowns. Then also, I think there's more of a dual threat nature to this guy than what we've seen even in college. He had 161 yards receiving last year, which was the most of his collegiate career, but 2 touchdowns. I think this guy can round out to be a solid dual threat. Not an amazing dual threat guy, but a solid dual threat guy that I think that the Bears could definitely use, and that shores up a lot of the running back talk here. Next, I did have the Bears picking up a 4th-round pick by trading back. With that, I think they take Jared Wilson, the center out of Georgia. This is a guy who, I said before, I want the Bears to sign a veteran center. That's what I want to see happen. Sign a veteran center. But if you sign a veteran center, you can bring in Jared Wilson as the backup and as the understudy there. What he has with the athleticism, the hands, the way that the technique that he has as well, I think that this is a guy that can go really well. Now, as I've said, Ben Johnson typically prefers people with a larger frame, but I think when it comes down to it, what you can get for Wilson, especially in the 4th round after making a trade back, I think that can go very well for the Chicago Bears. Next up, in the 5th round, I have the Chicago Bears drafting Billy Bowman Jr., the safety out of Oklahoma. I've been very focused on center. I've said it a lot. When I want to see out of a center for the Chicago Bears, out of a safety for the Chicago Bears, is a guy that can come in. He can take over for Kevin Byard. He only has 1 year left on his deal. And if by some chance, we're going to knock on wood, we hope it doesn't happen, Jaquan Brisker has another injury, I think Billy Bowman Jr. can step into that. I think that he has starting level potential in the NFL. You look at what he brings to the football field. This is a guy that just, despite his size, whatever it is, this is a guy that just gets it done. He's not the biggest, but he's smart. He has the right instincts. He has great ability to go out and attack the ball as well, and he can be used inside the box and outside the box. This is a guy that I absolutely love coming here for the Chicago Bears. Only 5'10", 200 pounds, but he's shown it already in his collegiate career. He makes up for that size, in my opinion. I love the concept of him being in the Chicago Bears uniform and pairing with Jaquan Brisker. Again, my personal opinion. I know there's not a lot of outlets that are going to have him going there. Next up for the Chicago Bears, a guy that I want to see the Bears bring in here as well. In the 6th round, I think this is an amazing talent that you can get per the 6th round, and that is Jamaree Caldwell out of Oregon. This guy, 6 foot, 340 pounds. He's just big. Now, he doesn't have the sack numbers that jump out the stat sheet at you. It is what it is there. 0 sacks last year, but he had 6.5 the year before that, 2 the year before that. This is a guy that just outright puts pressure, right? Now, again, as we know with defensive tackles, it's not always about necessarily the sack number there. It's about the pressure. And I think he brings that pressure from the interior defensive line as well. He brings in depth at that position as well. He has good size, good power. And again, I think he immediately passes up a guy like Zach Pickens on that depth chart. Not saying he's going to be a starter long-term for the Bears or anything like that, but when you look at adding quality in the 6th round, I think he more than brings that for the Chicago Bears. Next up, the last pick in the 7th round, Kyren Lacy, the wide receiver out of LSU. I think that this guy can compete with Tyler Scott. He's 6'2", 213 pounds, 58 receptions last year for 866 yards, 9 touchdowns as well. That's an average of 14.9, basically 15 yards per reception. This guy, over the course of his college career, has gotten it done. 9 touchdowns last year, 7 the year before that, 4 his rookie year, 6 his sophomore year. He ended up, not getting any his first year in LSU. He was one of those guys that had the 5th year of eligibility, But this is a guy that just outright, I love his ability here. I think he brings a lot, right? Now, I think it determines as well. He has a court situation going on, so that could absolutely affect him. But if he's cleared of that, his route running and all that, the yard after catch potential for him as well, I do think that he has a guy, regardless of where he's drafted at, that can be a very good player at the NFL level. But that's my mock draft. You guys can let me know how you feel down below. Of course, we'll get after the combine, after free agency, we'll get another mock out. My thoughts may change on some of these positions. But as of right now, I think that the Bears take care of the trenches in this, again, with my assumption that they take care of at least 2 starting positions in free agency. They get a running back in here. They provide some depth at wide receiver in competition for Tyler Scott as well. They get their safety that can come in here and be maybe a starter going forward into the future. They get the depth at defensive tackle. They get their edge rusher. They get a lot in this by the mock draft that I had. Not saying it's a perfect mock draft, but I try to find a way to solve all the Chicago Bears issues. But let me know what you guys think down below. Make sure you guys are following us at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.